that was awesome. Thanks, Gary. So next up, we've got Andrew Morton from the Kimberley Land Council. So many of us are familiar with Kimberley Land Council is responsible for setting up a lot of Indigenous ranger groups across the Kimberley, who a large portion of their work is learning about how to manage and mitigate fire, and also setting up carbon projects by reducing the amount of carbon going in the atmosphere, and then earning money out of that by selling the credits to corporates like Qantas and Virgin, etc. So Andrew is the fire planning coordinator at KLC for the eastern part of the Kimberley, and he helps oversee a lot of that training and the work and the planning that goes into the work the ranger groups do. So thanks very much, Andrew, for joining us online. I'm assuming you've got everything all going there. Thanks, too.
Yeah, so can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, thanks, mate.
Yeah, great. Yeah, g'day. I'm sorry I'm not there in person. I had intended to be there, but seems that Air North had other plans for me. So I'm presenting from Broome tonight. So I guess I've been working in the Kimberley for a while now. I actually used to work with Sarah and all those crew out at Mornington before I worked for the KLC. But I'm currently a fire planning coordinator at the Kimberley Land Council based out of Broome. So I'm not sure who's in the room, but if you're not aware, the Land Council was first formed in 1978 by Kimberley Aboriginal people as a land rights organisation. These days, they're the peak Indigenous body in the Kimberley region, working with Aboriginal people to secure native title, conduct conservation and land management activities, as well as developing cultural business practice. So there's been a bit of talk about ranges. So this is just a quick little map of, I've probably missed a few on there, but that's most of the ranger teams that operate in the region. So the KLC supported many of these groups to get off the ground initially. And as these programs have matured, many of them have now divested to run their own programs. So that's actually one of the aims of the KLC Ranger program is, self-determination. We really want to promote these groups to take ownership over their country and their projects and take the reins themselves. I guess over here in Wyndham, you guys are probably most familiar with the Balangara, Nullaga, Gidja and MG ranges. And yeah, so currently the KLC is just working with Gidja. These are the groups that we currently work with. We have up until very recently been directly supporting Balangara and Nullaga, but those guys are both in the process of divesting from the KLC to run their own projects. Yeah. So why do we have a burning program? Why do we do what we do? So all the rangers that work for the KLC, even though the rangers are employed by the KLC, they work under the direction of their senior traditional owners and the Aboriginal corporations that they work for. Rangers do land management work to look after their country, and fire management is a big part of this. They'll undertake early season burning to create fire scars, which prevent wildfire spread in the late dry season and ensure that their communities are adequately protected. The rangers are also often involved in firefighting operations in the late dry season. So this management over successive years of fire management has resulted in an overall reduction in fire frequency and reduced fire size. I've just actually pinched this graphic from NAFI. I'm too slack to make my own, but I think it really illustrates that point that overall in the region, fire is less frequent. So what you're looking at is a comparison between the year 2000 to 2006 and the year 2015 to 2021. So basically, where it's green, those areas are experiencing significantly less fire. I'm sure that if you want to see, these are all hosted on the NAPI website as well, and I'm sure Rowan can maybe tell all of you how they were produced. So there are some areas where there is more fire. Predominantly, they're in areas where there's been less fire management going on, or especially along roads or areas where there's access. So I'll just zoom in a bit now to the Shire of Wyndham East Kimberley. So on the whole, within the Shire boundary, fire fire frequency has reduced in 55% of the area covered by the Shire. And when we look at the KLC fire program, that is 70%. So these programs are not perfect, like nothing is, but the point is that they're getting better, and we're constantly learning and we're constantly adapting. So before I dive into the operational stuff, I just want to take a second to talk about the KLC Fire Operations Manual. So this manual is produced by the KLC over successive years. It's a pretty thorough document, sets out all the policies and procedures and burning practices under which the organisation operates. It gets assured by the Office of Bushfire Risk Management every year. So that's basically audits. So we'll have people come up and visit every year, make sure that we're operating at best practice. And basically what it means is that KLC fire programs, supported fire programs, are operating at or higher than industry standard. So, we talk a bit about prescribed burning, about planned burning. They're kind of the same thing. But so what is a planned burn? Well, it's any burn that's conducted by, what is a planned ranger burn? So it's any burn conducted by the rangers or traditional owners as part of their fire management plan. It'll include activities such as community protection burns, on-ground burning along tracks and roads, burning as cultural practice to protect important sites, and also aerial burning to put in landscape burns. So why do we do it? Primarily, the rangers are doing this to look after the cultural and environmental values of country. We're also there to build the capacity of the ranger teams to take ownership of their own projects, and then finally protect the lives and communities that are that host the rangers. There's been a bit of talk about the timing of burns. Primarily we're working March through to end of July, though the bulk of our burning occurs, March, April, and May. We're really only targeting younger fuels later on in the year. So the role that KLC plays in all this is really we're about supporting good planning and good fire practices. That means being there on the ground with rangers and traditional owners to conduct those burning operations. We're also assisting engagement with leaseholders, with government agencies like DFES or DBCA, as well as other stakeholders, like big partners, AWC, NGOs, that sort of stuff. We're also providing coordination and training support for rangers and sourcing funding for operations. There was a bit of talk about carbon projects there, but most of the projects that we operate are not carbon projects, so they require funding to operate. So once we've done all that planning and stuff, this is a bit of an example of what that might look like. These are some burns from this year's fire season. So it's a pretty varied program. We don't just do aerial burning or just do ground burning. We use that suite of tool. We use whatever tool is appropriate for the job we're trying to achieve. So you can see there's some guys doing some community burning. A few of the fellas from Gooniyandi over in Fitzroy getting ready to do some aerial burning, and then some road burning along the tracks. Yeah. So once we've done our early season burning program, that's when we jump into reviewing our program. So, I spoke a bit about operating at best practice, and a big part of that is the ability to be critical of your own program. So in the first instance, that's sitting down with the ranger teams and thinking about what worked and what didn't, and discussing ways we can do it better next time. The second level is engaging with OBRM, the Office of Bushfire Risk Management, to have them assess us at a higher level. They'll come out and spend time with us in the office going through our policies, procedures. They're there to help us if there's any significant incidents. And they also conduct site visits, go out and visit ranger teams while they're doing their burning or while they're attending training. And then part of that process with Obram is obviously reviewing our policies and procedures, making sure that they're all up to date and current. And that's something that we do every year, and I think it's a really important part of making sure that we're doing the best job we can do. So once we've done that, self-assessment at the end of the burning season, that's when we'll start. Generally, it's starting to get pretty hot and windy, and the rangers are often engaged in wildfire suppression. So we prioritise community safety above all else. And then, of course, we're trying to protect cultural assets and environmental assets. So where we can, we'd like to put the fires out. Obviously, that's not possible everywhere. So it might involve, using some of those early season burns to go out and contain fires by joining up the scars. And we work very closely with other government agencies in the region, DFES in particular. So I guess it's a pretty short and sweet talk. Basically, in summary, the KLC is there striving for best practice fire management across the region. And we believe that the best way to do this is by promoting and empowering Aboriginal people to undertake meaningful work on their respective countries. And so I just want to give a bit of a shout out to the Gidja Rangers who I think are in the room. They're the guys in the orange. They've been really working hard for the last couple of months doing firefighting just south of Kununurra there. So their project runs from Doon down to Violet Valley, and really they've spent the last sort of 2 months really fighting fires by themselves and with DFES, and yeah, make sure you go and say good day and shake their hands because they're a bunch of legends. So that's my talk, short but sweet. I guess I'll open it up to any questions.
Thanks, Andrew. That was great. Anyone got any questions for KLC?
Hi, Andrew. Just a quick question. We had that very interesting, talk on the Gouldians and also on cypress pines, etc. Do you build anything into your management plans, fire management plans, prior to undertaking burning in areas? If not, do you see some of these considerations now being put in place?
Yeah, I mean, so, when we're undertaking our planning process, all of those things are considered. And I guess when we're devising, most of the projects we work on are, work to a patch mosaic methodology. And so the idea is to break up country using small early burns so that you can ensure that there is older vegetation. Things like Gouldians, they need older grass so that they can breed. So sorry, I forget the other fellow's name, but Gouldians, they rely on nesting in hollows, and when they're nesting in those hollows, they need grass nearby. And so generally when they're breeding, I think it's only spinifex that's seeding at that time. So most of those spinifex species will take a few years to seed. That's work that Sarah did. But so by mosaicing, you're ensuring that there is some of that older grass available in areas where Gouldian finches are. Certainly where we have known populations of things like calitris or threatened species or important places like, maybe things that aren't considered threatened but are important to the local traditional owners. All of those things factor into our planning. And really, at a landscape scale, what we want to do is reduce the impact of late season wildfires and make that older vegetation more available to all species, not just Gouldians. There's a lot of research now that shows older vegetation is important, not just for Gouldian finches to breed, but it's important cover for many different species. A bit of a ramble there, but I hope I answered your question a bit.
Thanks, Andrew. Anyone else got a question? Kelsey? Great call out for Gidgee Rangers. Good work, guys. Okay. Thank you. Good on you for
Thank
being
you.
able to do this online. Thanks, Andrew. Cheers.